dive into, and then we'll open it up on your phones to get into all of it. Let's break down the Joe Tippmann extension. That's right. Darren Mougey has been busy with proactive extensions, and arguably the player with the best hair on the team is the latest to get a new deal. The Jets this morning locked up Joe Tippmann with a 4-year extension for $62 million. Now, with any football extension, the first thing you do is you check out the guarantees in the contract. The guaranteed money is being reported as $34.9 million. So 4-year deal, $34.9 million guaranteed. I looked up where that would rank Joe Tippmann among his peers as far as salary for a guard. Tippmann, who's still just 25 years old, oh, by the way, is now the 15th highest paid guard on annual average value. That's from SpotTrack. He's one spot ahead of the Brown Zion Johnson, who was the highest paid guard to change teams during free agency this offseason. It's also being reported that Tippmann's guaranteed money is front-loaded into the first 2 years of the contract. So from a Jets standpoint, I think this is a no-brainer by Darren Mougey and company. I think you're getting a player who is still young and ascending, who is versatile and team first. He could play center. He could play guard. We could debate if he's better at one or the other, but Joe Tippmann, we know, is a solid football player who's a good leader, a hard worker, and again, when you extend one of your own, it sends the right message to the locker room if you're the Jets. I think Darren Mougey and Aaron Glenn got this right. Now, Joe Tippmann is someone that I think has proven to be, at the bare minimum, a good football player, right? We know the circumstances for the Jets, given their quarterback situation, is not ideal. And Tippmann, Armand Membu, and Olu Fashanu now all being locked up. The tackles still being on their rookie deals. Tippmann now getting an extension. You have 3 of your 5 offensive linemen that you feel really good about. And I am a believer in the tomato can theory when it comes to offensive line. I believe you could have a good offensive line in the NFL if you have at least 3 of your 5 starters that are above average to very good. As long as the other 2 of the 5 aren't tomato cans, I think you have a good offensive line in today's NFL. If you have at least 3 above average starters, and the Jets, I believe, do, Tippmann's above average. I think Armand Membu could be special. I think he's a Pro Bowler this year and a potential All-Pro. And I think Olu is a guy that has been good, and I think now another year he could be great. 3rd year for Olu Fashanu. I'm excited to see what he could do. So I think when you have 3 guys now locked up, you feel good about your offensive line going forward. And what I like about what the Jets have done here is they have clearly operated with a plan. Their plan is to surround whoever the quarterback might be with an infrastructure that will allow them to have a chance to be successful. We've seen the Jets draft the quarterback in the top 5, and that quarterback steps into an environment where the O-line stinks, the receivers stink, the offensive coaching stinks, and that player has no chance. There's a guy named Sam Darnold who won a Super Bowl this year. He was drafted by the Jets. Remember him? That was the right pick. That was the right player. They didn't give him a chance. So I have no idea what the 2026 season is going to look like, how many wins the Jets are going to have, how Geno Smith, who I think could still at least be an average starter in this league, even coming off a bad year with a dysfunctional Raiders team. I don't know how Geno's going to play overall. I do know that whoever the quarterback is a year from now is going to be stepping into an environment where the offensive line looks solid. You have a number 1 receiver locked up in Garrett Wilson. I think all of us are encouraged about what a guy like Omar Cooper Jr. and Kenyon Sadiq can be. It's a projection, but we like the chances of them being good players. I think we're excited to see what Mason Taylor in year 2 can be. I think we're excited about the possibility of A.D. Mitchell really finding a home with the Jets. Breece Hall was extended. You have him guaranteed for at least 2 more years. Tippmann's deal basically guarantees him, as we talked about in the open, for 2 more years, you have the makings of a professional offense for whoever the quarterback is a year from now. Glenn's got to win games to be the head coach a year from now. Gino's got to play well enough to be the bridge a year from now, because the Jets with 3 first-round picks, they have engineered this rebuild to try and build the team and then insert the quarterback into an offense that actually has talent and has playmakers to help said quarterback not fail like what happened with Sam Darnold. Sometimes you just draft the wrong guy. Zach Wilson stinks. It doesn't matter what offense the Jets had around him. It didn't matter. Zach Wilson went elsewhere, and he couldn't even get on the field. He's a number 3 quarterback in the league now for a reason. Sam Darnold, teams knew he had talent. That's why he kept getting opportunities to be a starter or a backup. So sometimes you just draft the wrong guy. Sometimes you draft the right guy and you fail that player. That was Sam Darnold. And the Jets, I believe, are learning from that mistake with this regime, because they have gone out there and they have invested heavily in their offense. They extend Tippman. They extend Brees. A year ago, they extended Garrett. They made a shrewd trade to get A.D. Mitchell in the Sauce Gardner deal. Darren Mougey is going to have to take the big swing on quarterback, I believe, in the 2027 NFL draft. But he has at least given himself a chance. Unlike Mike McCagnon, who drafted Sam Darnold, he has at least given himself a chance where if he picks the right player, like McCagnon ironically did, that quarterback might not be screwed. Now, we might need to get the right head coach and the right offensive coordinator for that quarterback a year from now if Aaron Glenn doesn't turn things around and show that he at least can be a competent coach and the Jets could look like a functioning team this year, win 7 or 8 games, and he could save his job. But at least big picture, why I'm optimistic on the Jets and their future is I believe in the general manager. I think Darren Mougey's good. I think he's got a plan. I think he is someone that has earned respect around the league. Anyone I have spoken to, it's always the same conversation when you talk about the Jets with people around the league, right? These people are other coaches, agents for both players and coaches, scouts, front office people. It's, I don't know about your head coach, but Darren Mougey is really good. I think you guys have a GM. And I think this is another example of that. I mean, it wasn't that long ago. The Jets never extended any of their own. And now, look what they've done since Darren Mougey's been here. Garrett Wilson, Brees Hall, Joe Tippmann. These guys all extended early. And when you extend a player early, you save big picture. As long as you got that player under contract and he continues to perform, you know, Joe Tippmann being the 15th highest paid guard now, I'm fine with that. Because I think you could say he's been slightly above average in his Jet tenure, but I think there's nuance to that conversation. I like the fact he could play center or guard. The Jets were really healthy on the offensive line a year ago. Obviously, AVT went down in the week before the year started, but from week 1 on, they played the same 5 guys. That doesn't happen in the NFL. So odds are there's going to be an injury or two this year the Jets have to deal with. And the fact that Tippman could slide in at center and guard, that's super helpful. You know, Dylan Parham could also play center and guard. You have versatility there. Josh Myers, who's their center right now, he could play center and guard. I like the state of the offensive line. I like the fact that the Jets have 3 guys that are all now signed long-term that are 25 years old or younger. I think there's a lot to like about how the Jets have built this team. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to be great this year or end the playoff drought. Because, again, when you don't have a head coach and you don't have a quarterback, it's hard to win. And I'm more optimistic about Gino resembling the Seattle version of himself or being a closer version to that player than I am Aaron Glenn being a good head coach, but he's at least going to get the opportunity with a professional roster. No one can say the Jets roster is dog crap. It's the worst in the league. It's not. Compare the Jets offensive talent to a lot of other teams, you'd be surprised. Now, again, this is me saying Geno Smith, I think, could be average. If he plays how he did last year with Vegas, if that's who he now is, then, yeah, the Jets are going to struggle because it's a quarterback league at the end of the day. But if Geno is competent, if he's average, if he's 75% of what he was when he was in Seattle, there's no excuse for the Jets to not be a professional team this year. To start 4-4 through their first 8 and actually give this fan base a season. Start actually giving us something to believe in, right? The Knicks championship run, if you want to use the cross-sport comparison, they didn't just all of a sudden just win. They hired Tom Thibodeau and Leon Rose together, and the first year they took over a team that won 31 games, and they won 40-something games and made the playoffs and restored order, respectability. That's where the Jets need to get back to first. They're in hell right now. You can't get to the top of the mountain from hell in a year. You have to start climbing out of hell and get above ground and then continue your build. And moves like signing Tippman, I think, help you do that. Darren Mougey has now extended. Tippman, Breeze, Garrett, Jeremy Ruckert, nice role player who has bought in to what the Jets want to be. These are the right messages it sends to the locker room. Again, the Jets never used to extend any of their own, and now they have. And if you look at the Jets' upcoming free agents, I mean, their entire offense is now under contract for another year besides Geno. And if they want to keep Geno, they obviously can. You hope they want to keep Geno. That means he played well. Maybe he's the bridge, or maybe he played so well, we go into next year thinking he's the starter. With someone behind him that they draft. Who knows? The point is, if you look at the projected starting offense for the Jets, they are all under contract now for at least another year. That to me is exciting. Because there's a chance that there's really something being built here the right way. And the Jets have tried it where they have relied on the quarterback to be the savior. And that's not what you want. You want the quarterback to be lifted up by the organization. That's what they told they were going to do to Zach Wilson. And at times, they actually gave Zach more than certainly Sam Darnold had, and it didn't work. Because, again, sometimes you could pick the wrong player. But at least early on, I think we like how Mougey is drafted, right? I think we like what he did this year. I think year one, we're encouraged certainly about Armand Membu. Mason Taylor, I think, is going to be a good player. We'll see what happens with Azareye'h Thomas and some of the other day 3 picks. But at the bare minimum, I think we have a general manager. We have someone who has a vision, who has respect around the league, who has an idea what he's doing. And I think getting Tippman signed is the latest example of such. Plus, he's a friend of the show, so we'll have to get Joe Tippmann back on, hopefully before training camp. All right, Asmaniacs, listen up for a second. No matter what you're watching, whether it's New York sports or any game you didn't plan on caring about, there's no better way to stay locked in than with PrizePicks. It's daily fantasy made simple. You're just picking more or less on player projections. That's it. No complicated lineups, no nonsense. Just you versus the numbers. And here's why I love it. Even if it's a game you normally wouldn't care about, once you got a lineup going, you're locked in. Every play matters, every drive matters, every at-bat matters. I've been mixing sports too. Maybe a little football, throwing some baseball, maybe some basketball, and now you've got action across the board all night, and PrizePicks makes it even better with features like early cash outs if your picks are hitting, the ability to mix multiple sports in one lineup, and you can even see what other people are playing and tail their picks. So if you haven't tried it yet, what are you doing? Download the PrizePicks app right now. Use code HMA. That's HMA, and you'll get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, it's HMA on PrizePicks. PrizePicks, where it always feels good to be right. We actually got real Jet news today. Joe Tippmann, he's sticking around. Darren Mougey is proactive with another extension here. So Joe Tippmann, who was going into the final year of his deal, he has agreed to a 4-year, $62 million extension from the Jets. As far as the guaranteed money goes, the official terms of the guarantee, at least as far as what we know that's been reported, is roughly $31 million or so. Makes Joe Tippmann the 15th highest paid guard in the league, which is, to me, more than reasonable. What was your initial reaction to seeing the Tippmann extension?
Yeah, there were some murmurs that it was going to happen. At first, when I looked at the money, I'm like, little high, to be honest, right? My honest reaction. But looking at it in comparison to the other guards, I hadn't realized what that market really turned into until I sort of put up Spotrac and started looking at some of the numbers. Guaranteed, he is up there. I believe he's top 5 in total guaranteed, but they front loaded most of it. So that cap hit, if they had to move on or something happens, not going to be so bad. Dead cap meaning. So I think Darren Mougey is telling us and everyone out there the things that he values, and that's offensive line play, and it's getting to the quarterback. And it's clear to me that that's basically what he's been doing. Picking David Bailey over Arvell Reese showed me that. Some of the trades that he's made, he likes these defensive linemen that he can sort of rotate. And look what he's done. He's, taken another top 10 offensive lineman, and now he's shored up a guard that plays a little center and is going to be sort of like a linchpin up front there for this, new age Jets, I call them. And that's what you got to do in the NFL, man. You got to build the trenches on both ends. And on the other side, you got to get to the quarterback. So you got to stop players from getting to the quarterback, and you got to get to the quarterback. So I like what Mougey's doing. Jake, he gets these deals done quick too. I heard like a few days ago murmurs about Tippman and the Jets, and 2 days later, sure enough, a deal's done. Similar situation with Breece Hall. I didn't think they were going to get a deal done before that July 15th deadline.
And they're all reasonable. There's like sound logic behind them. There's an out after 2 years, just like there's basically an out after 2 with Breece. Like, again, every starter on offense besides Geno is under contract now. A year from now, they are laying the foundation for whoever the quarterback actually is. Like, there's a real plan that they're trying to execute here. I have real faith in Darren Mougey. I think he's done a nice job to this point. The big swings are coming, whether it be at quarterback, obviously, and if Glenn can't figure it out, I think Mougey's going to get a chance to hire a coach. So there's a real plan in place here, and they're set up. If they actually could get quarterback right and head coach TBD, they are set up to at least have the right infrastructure to be successful, unlike what happened with Sam Darnold, who was the right pick, but was failed by the organization. Like, they're learning from seemingly that, at least with the moves they've made now the last year and a half with Darren Mougey at the helm.
Totally, man. And we're not going to appreciate this offensive line until we get a quarterback or we get an offensive coordinator that's really doing some unique things. Once those things happen, ideally both of those things happen similar timelines, we'll really appreciate this offensive line. And I've told everyone that I've spoken to about the Jets that I think that's the number one unit that they should invest the most in, because if you walk into a stadium on Sunday and you say that we have the better offensive line 9 out of 10 times, that really puts you at an advantage in today's NFL. We've seen teams like the Eagles do that and win Super Bowls doing that. So the Ravens do that. Like, you got to start building around a unit or two that you feel like is a differentiator for your team on Sundays. And I think Mougey gets that. It's the offensive line and it's the defensive front in terms of pressure on the quarterback. I like what he's doing. You see, he's not really investing too much in corner or even safety to a degree. It's not like they're trading up to get safeties. Yeah, they got Minka, but they're not looking at positions that I don't really value as much as other, people may. And I think he gets it in that regard. And he's trying to build differently, man, with certain things that he's done with Kenyon Sadiq, drafting him. This team could be really good. They just need the quarterback and offensive coordinator to sort of get it together. And then I think the defense will work itself out, even if they're not a top, 10 unit. I think they'll be good enough where if the offense can put up points, they're not going to blow games, on a weekly basis.
From your lips to God's ears on that one. But I do think they're taking the right steps to turning this around. Because, again, if it doesn't work out with Glenn, is this not one of the better job openings in the league? 3 ones, $150 million in cap space. 3 of your 5 offensive linemen are above average and certainly signed long-term. Number 1 wide receiver, we believe, and he better be, otherwise your head will be on a stick, a pike, an elite pass rusher, the number 2 pick in the draft, and David Bailey. There's some players here, man. They're like, you have the makings of a real team once you figure out coach and quarterback. And obviously those are the biggest 2, but you're an attractive destination to be able to land both, and you're in position to get the quarterback in the draft.
Yeah, man. This is what a head coach would want to ask for, is the flexibility with draft capital, are team-friendly deals, a young roster that has multiple guys that can really play at the same time or the same position. You know how nice it is to say, oh, we have Kenyon Sadiq and we have Mason Taylor. Oh, we have Omar Cooper Jr. and we have Garrett Wilson. By the way, we also have Breece Hall, and that's just the offense.
Yep.
And people think the offense stinks, and they did stink last year to, in every facet of what an offense should do. But then you look at the offensive line now with Olu.
Frankie, I think their offense is better than the defense right now.
On paper, it is. Yeah, definitely. If you line up, I just named players. I didn't name the 2 bookend tackles. I didn't even talk about Tippman in that whole rundown of players. Yeah, talent-wise, definitely. So when you're looking on paper, and if you were to give them a score based on a talent rating, I agree with you. I think early on, I think the defense will be the better unit. I feel like there's more experience there. There's more continuity. Glenn's a defensive coordinator. So, I mean, they should look a little better. But I agree with you, though, Jake. I think that offense is going to have some moments where you're like, damn, like we're able to put up, 35 points in a game or 3 scores and a half. I think they're going to pull that off a few times this year. I do.
Comments, questions, super chats, cut the line. Jet fans, you feeling better about the offense or the defense? And write in the chat your thoughts on the Joe Tippmann contract extension. I think it's an awesome move, and I think there's real hope for the New York Jets. Maybe that's the Knick fan in me now trying to project some optimism, but why not, baby? The New York Knicks are NBA champions.
Hey, here's the deal. Just got no chance unless you click on that like button. And you got to make sure you subscribe to the Jake Asman Show. You don't, you can get the f*** out. Now let's go, Asmaniacs. We're built for this shit.